Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lido Loca Cruise Podcast, and welcome to another episode. Very excited today to have a longtime cruising friend with me. She's a big cruise fan. She's a longtime cruise content creator, and she is an entrepreneur and a philanthropist. If we want to go on, so many titles, but the title I know her best as is Emma Le Teace from Emma Cruises. Emma, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for that. That was a good introduction. Thanks.
Well, I've been working on it for a while. Your people sent over stuff. I'm just trying. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have people. Do you have people yet? You probably have people.
People?
Yeah, people that send stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, look, let's talk about some cruising stuff. Now, traditionally, so you make most of the time when you make your videos, you're by yourself, and some people take that to mean that you're a solo cruiser, but you're essentially not a solo cruiser. Most of the time, you're cruising with somebody. Mm-hmm. But recently, you took a cruise on one of the smallest cruise cabins in the world, and it was a solo cruise. So let's talk about solo cruising. Can you just briefly describe the cruise that you just went on and what were your accommodations, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I cruised on Norwegian Breakaway. I think you did Getaway, didn't you? It was very similar to the one I was.
It was one of the aways. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I believe you if you say.
I think you were on that one and I was on Breakaway. So I stayed in the studio solo cabin. I was actually not solo on that cruise. Technically,
oh, wow.
I knew other people on the cruise, but I was solo when I was in that room. I was in the solo lounge. I'm a fan of inside cabins anyway, so for me, it was just like getting to try an even smaller inside cabin. Super snuggly. I loved it, but I do understand why it's not for everybody. If you don't like a regular inside cabin, you're not going to like that one.
Yeah, it was interesting for me because I think it was 99 square feet, and I could stand in the middle of that cabin and touch both walls at the same time, which was bizarre. And also that interesting bathroom layout. Did you find that room to be accommodating for you? I didn't have any problem with the bathroom layout, but was it weird or was it not weird to take you much to get used to it?
Yeah, it was fine. The only thing I found a bit strange was on the first night when I had a shower and I had the light on in the shower but not in the room. I don't know why, that's just how it was. But I turned around and for 1 second I saw a face looking at me. It was me. But it scared the life out of me that first day, thinking like you turn, But after that it was fine. Yeah, a very small sort of toilet in one corner, but that's all you need, If you're there by yourself, you can always leave the door open if you feel a bit claustrophobic in there. But the shower was pretty good. Like, the size of it was fine. I didn't mind having a sink in the room. I'm using the sink all the time to wash my hands, fill up, get a drink and stuff. So I found it quite interesting. I agree with you. You said that the bed was very comfortable and you had a good sleep. I had a very good sleep. It was very quiet, very snuggly. I did a live stream from my cabin. I feel like I was the noisiest person. But it very much felt like a snuggly little nest to me. And I was quite happy in there. I don't really understand the window part. I think you found that as well. It was a bit nothing, but I guess it maybe convinces you when the curtains are closed that maybe something's out there. But I didn't spend a lot of time sitting there just looking into the corridor to see
it's such an interesting offering, really, on a cruise ship. That's what I was going to ask. So I get asked the question quite often, what's the best cruise line for solo cruising? And because I had that experience with Norwegian and the fact that they have those dedicated solo cabins with a dedicated ship within a ship area with the dedicated lounge, I often recommend that Norwegian experience is the best soloing experience. But do you have a different answer to that question? Like, how do you answer that question? What is the best solo cruiser option? As someone who's not really a solo cruiser, it's a tough question to answer.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. I think there's two types of solo cruiser. There's the solo cruiser who wants to throw themselves into every single meeting. The person who is writing their name on the whiteboard, in the solo lounge, who's spending their time there to make friends. I think if you're that kind of person, no other cruise line does it like Norwegian. A lot of cruise lines have solo meetups, but it's normally just in a normal lounge. Sometimes I find that a bit awkward, whereas if you're just sat in the solo lounge, everyone else there is solo, so it's kind of easier to make friends. If you're not interested in that, it depends on the cruise, because sometimes you can get a regular cabin that actually is cheaper than one of these cabins, or you might really want a balcony cabin. It's no point you being in the tiny little inside. So I think it depends on the person, but yeah, no other cruise line has this sort of solo lounge, solo corridor. I felt very cool going down the corridor with my cruise card that everyone else couldn't get into. So yeah, for most people, I would say so.
Wow, cool. So have you ever cruised where you didn't know someone else? Have you ever had truly a solo cruise experience?
I've only done, press cruises where I don't know anyone on day one, but I know everyone by day two, that kind of thing. I think solo cruising is a great way to do it. I mean, you'll understand with so many people seeing your face on the internet, it's not really something that I can do now. I just don't think it's a smart decision for me to do that. So I don't cruise solo. But when people ask me about it, I always say, I know people who absolutely love it, people who love, making friends at dinner, and people who love, some people love not making any friends at all. And that's also a very valid way to cruise. That sounds great.
I guess let's dig a little deeper into your personality. Are you inclined, say you were doing a solo cruise, are you inclined to go to a specialty restaurant and eat by yourself, or go to the main dining room and eat by yourself? Would that be something that you would do?
That would suit me fine. I'm more than happy. I think that sounds quite nice. Yeah, I probably quite happy to keep myself to myself. It's nice to be around other people and doing things together. If you go to a show together, but not... I don't like dining when you're fixed in a certain place with certain people, and then if I don't go back, then they know that I didn't choose to go back, that kind of thing. Yeah. I prefer to be like not on the hook for anything, but I'll still, I'll go. I'm happy to join someone's trivia team or something like that, but then I don't have to. If I don't want to go again, I don't have to.
When you're at home, would you go see a movie by yourself? Is that something you would do by yourself? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't faze me at all. I know some people really don't like it, but I went to a gym class today by myself. I don't need anyone else. I just think I'm a background character for everyone else, right? Like, no one's looking at me.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And to build on something that you brought up there, because, you have such a prominence in the cruise content creation space, your face is known certainly by a lot of people. I get it a lot over here in the U.S., and people are very open to come up and talk and all those kind of things. Is that the same experience in the U.K. or in Europe, or are people more reserved, or do you find that people come up to you and start to chat you up?
Yeah, they do. I think it is a bit different in that when I've been on cruises, in the Caribbean with a lot of Americans on board, they will chase me down across the pool deck shouting my name, which really scares me. Whereas on the British ones, most people will sort of slide up next to me and be a bit more subtle about it. I'll chat to anyone. Like, I'm always happy to take a picture, to talk. The only thing I ask is that people tell me that I don't know them. Because my greatest fear is, like, someone will sit next to me at the bar and just be like, oh, how's Hudson? Like, why have you got that drink? You don't like that kind of thing, which is fine. But I don't know if I've met you and I've forgotten you. And I'm going to spend the rest of the cruise thinking, do I know that man? So just come up to me and say, hey, Emma, I watch your videos. I've seen you on Facebook. I know you. And then I feel chill.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting phenomenon, because that happens to me quite a bit. People will say, you don't know me, but you don't know me. And then
that's fine.
I've also recently I got quizzed pretty hard because, when you meet a lot of people, it's really hard to have total recall of the people that you met. And I ran into some people on, I think, the Royal Caribbean Star of the Seas, and they're like, hey, we met 3 years ago. What's my name? And I'm like, oh, it becomes such a challenge. I'm like, oh, please don't make it awkward. I don't know what your name is. Just tell me. I'm happy to meet you again. So I do lead with that sometimes, like, have we met before? Where was it at? That kind of thing. But look, you mentioned Captain Hudson. I've got Captain Hudson also. There's really what's this one called? I can't. Is this version 1, 2, 3?
He's just the proper Captain Hudson.
Yeah, so he's here to navigate us. It really segues into an interesting conversation. For several years now, you have worked with these Captain Hudson plushies as a way to give money to charity. Do you have any updates? How's that going? What's the latest information on that? Or how's the charitable efforts going?
So we've done 5 versions of Captain Hudson over the last 2 to 3 years, raised, I think it's $180,000 now for a charity called Mercy Ship. So I went out to Sierra Leone to stay on the ship to see, we got to give out Captain Hudson's, which was really cool, and to see, what they're doing with that money. We've moved on to First Mate Rolo because I adopted a dog, and we're raising money for the place that rescued him. He's a Romanian street dog. So we're currently in that waiting stage where we're waiting for that to arrive. And then we'll start seeing on cruise ships people taking these out, and they take pictures, take him to dinner, and he gets into all sorts of trouble, which is quite funny. people will say, oh, Hudson's done this in my room, and it just makes me laugh. So yeah, we're in that waiting stage. We sold another 1,400 of First Mate Rolo this time. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. The first time we needed to sell 300 because it's kind of a thing where we needed to get the orders and then they would be made. It's not like a thing where I'm buying these and trying to sell them. And I was not sure that we would ever do 300, but we've done, I think, 9,000 Captain Hudsons and 1,400 First Mate Rolos. So it's super nice, not just because, obviously it's doing good for charity, which is lovely, but people will say, oh, I saw someone and they had a Captain Hudson on their table on a cruise ship and now we're chatting, like now we're friends, or, it's just something in common. And I think a lot of people want to share their cruises, but they don't necessarily want to take a picture like we do, like I'm in the dining room kind of thing. So they'll take Hudson and be like, Hudson enjoyed his steak in Cagney's restaurant. And it's just so nice. I love it so much.
It's interesting. I know you a little bit, right? And I feel like we're very similar, that we're a little bit introverted, right? Like we love making the stuff that we make, and that's exciting. And we love going on cruises. And I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with what you've done with the charity and what you've done with Captain Hudson. So all the kudos to you for that. But I do connect with this idea that even though I'm not the most comfortable being in the midst of the community that I help foster, it is neat to see the community that I help foster thriving, right? Mm-hmm. So that's got to be super satisfying when people are taking all these pictures of Hudson and posting it beyond the charity. I mean, we all have these things that gratify us, and so that has to be super gratifying to see just the effort that you made has impacted so many people. So do you ever reflect on that, or you just take it as it comes, or are you able to take a moment and go, okay, I'm excited that I did that kind of thing?
I think I'm always just so excited about the next one that I forget to think. There's 9,000 of these in the world. Can you imagine 9,000 toys?
It's impressive.
But,
yeah.
It's just, it's what I want to see. When I log on Facebook, I get a lot of it's only cruise ships that I see on there now, but a lot of it is very depressing. It's like things that are wasting your money, and someone did this thing, someone's arrested. But then I see a picture of Captain Hudson who's face down in a beer because he's got drunk. And that's what I want to see when I go on the internet. So the more we can, get people sharing things that are just fun, I think that's really nice. So I really enjoy that. It's kind of my nice little corner of the internet where, everyone's just nice to each other.
Well, I have Captain Hudson here with pride. I've got a checkered past with the real Hudson. I guess we can just shelf that conversation. But another thing that's interesting that's made me think of you, because you're a younger person. I read an article recently that talked about part of the increase in the demand in cruising that's going on right now is a great interest by the younger generations beyond millennials. I don't really know what they call the like Gen Z or the Z after millennials or Y. I don't know, but it seems like that more and more young people are gravitating to cruising, and then even to the point where this gravitation is starting to impact the length of cruises, that younger people tend to like a shorter cruise. I think I kind of see that. I've gone on a couple short cruises here in the States, and I've seen younger people. I'm just wondering how that translates across the pond. Are you seeing young people get into cruising? Do you know more young people that get into cruising? What are you seeing happening there?
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think we maybe have more families that cruise rather than in the Caribbean. I think you get a lot of teenagers and people sort of in their early 20s. We're sort of a bit younger and a bit older. I'm sure we'll meet in the middle. But I think it's not just because younger people are cruising that cruises get shorter, but because cruises are getting shorter, younger people can cruise and they're trying it. Because I understand, if you're someone who's never been on a cruise and you're looking at holidays and you don't understand, you don't know what's included, you don't know if you're going to like being at sea, it is hard to imagine being at sea if you've never been at sea. So when they do, there's a lot of short P&O cruises, MSC cruises from the UK. You can do 3 days, you can do 4 days. So I think it just makes it a lot more accessible and a lot less scary. I will say those short cruises, if you take a 3-day MSC cruise from the UK, it's great fun, but it's going to be a lot busier, and it's not really a reflection of if you do a 7-night, 14-night cruise, but it is enough that, you can try it. And if there's something you don't like about it, you can go from there and then find a cruise line that suits you. So yeah, I think it's kind of both ways, but it's definitely getting younger. Year on year, we get the stats out and it's 2 years younger. The average is like 47 now, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 50 something, it's getting there. Not that it needs to, why do we need it to get younger? Like, just get everyone cruise.
I think at least the benefit of it getting younger is I think it helps strengthen the cruise industry, right? Like because you have a customer that if you hook them at a younger age, then you'll definitely have a longer customer. So I think that is good. It is interesting though, because I think for the younger cruisers, they have different wants and desires. And I think it maybe changes cruising a little bit. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you hear folks that are a little on the older side push back against some of the changes in cruising, but I like it. I like a short cruise. Do you like, since you have the ability really to probably cruise however you want, are you adverse to a short cruise, or is there like a dead set minimum? I only want to go on 7+ days, or well, no. How are you choosing your cruises these days?
Yeah, I would say it's the other way. I don't want to do a cruise that's too long just because, when I'm creating content, there's no real benefit for me going to the main dining room. This is day 8. Like, no one cares once you've done it a couple of times. So I'm probably looking for cruises. Ideally, for the kind of content I create, I need it to be maybe 4 days is good. I have done some cruises that are 2 days and you spend the entire time, you can't see every venue in 2 days on some of these big ships. So ideally for me, between sort of 4 and maybe 8 days is ideal. But I like a short cruise. I just always try and say to my friends who will book their first cruise and it's a 3-day MSC cruise, like, this is not how every cruise is, because everyone is out in all the public areas the entire time. Everyone's at the bars. Everyone's eating because they're only there for 3 days. So it's just going to be busier. Not necessarily a bad thing. Just I want people to know that.
I think if I'm remembering this correctly, you went to Alaska this year, and it's the first time you'd gone to Alaska since you were very young. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What did you think about going back to Alaska as more of an adult now than a young kid?
It's funny because my first cruise was to Alaska when I was 11. But if you ask me what I remember about that cruise, I remember, my brother playing on his Tamagotchi. I remember going up and down in the glass lifts. Like, I thought that was so much fun. I remember going to the pub and singing this song about unicorns. Like, I don't really remember anything about Alaska. I was just so excited to, at 11, that was kind of a freedom that I hadn't had before. My parents could go to the main dining room. I could get pizza. Like, that was all I needed. I was so excited. So it was kind of nice to go back with just a different viewpoint on the same places that I went to. We did pretty much the same cruise. It was the, classic from Seattle 7-night kind of cruise. So I can recreate the pictures that I took there. But I just like different things about it than I did at 11. It was great though. I really like Alaska. I will say I'm so glad that we went so early in the season, because we were either the only ship there or there was maybe one other ship. And I see sometimes, there will be 5 ships docked in some of these places in summer. And I can't really imagine that. I prefer to go, early or late in the season.
Did you do any traditional Alaskan things like whale watching, or what was some of the highlights of the Alaska part of it?
For me, I think the White Pass Railway was just amazing, especially with my camera, the Insta360, stick it out the top of the train. We had the most amazing blue skies. We were so lucky with the weather, and that was just it doesn't even if I look at it now, I know I was there, I know I filmed this, it doesn't look real. But that was amazing. So yeah, that's my thing. I say, if you're going there, book it. I know you have to book it so far in advance, but it does sell out. Just do it. Just book it.
So the cruising in Alaska is fairly unique because it's fjord type cruising, right? But you've spent some time in Norway. Is that a similar experience, a dissimilar experience? Is that like the European Alaska, or Alaska's the North American Norway?
Yeah, same kind of thing. I will say, I think on some of the Norway cruises, you visit sort of some cities where more people just really live, whereas Alaska kind of shuts down. A lot of the ports shut down out of season. If it was very, cruising is more of a thing there, and we're sort of just visiting these places in Norway. But as far as, the long sailings and the long sail outs and the sitting out, wrapped up in a blanket, watching the fjords, that's the same kind of thing. I would say if you're in the UK and you're considering an Alaska cruise, try Norway. It's right there. It's so easy. If you're in Seattle and you're wondering about Norway, do an Alaska cruise while you're there. Yeah. And then if you like one, you will like the other, because it's a similar sort of, all about nature and wildlife and just really relaxing and peaceful.
What was the travel like? How long did you fly to the East Coast of the United States and then over?
No, went straight to Seattle. It's pretty easy, Seattle.
One shot? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How long a flight was that?
It's like 9 hours, maybe. It wasn't too bad. Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad, actually. Yeah, because I was looking at going from Vancouver, but Vancouver would have been like a change, and I thought, Seattle's nice and easy. I can recreate that exact same cruise, so that's what I went for.
Did you get in right before the cruise, or did you do anything interesting in Seattle?
We had a couple of days, just mostly to get over the jet lag. Yeah. That was kind of the main thing.
There you go. Yeah, the jet lag's a killer. Even for here on the East Coast going to London, I still feel it just a little bit. So, So look, when I think of you, and I don't know how long we've known each other, but I think of you in this concept of being a content creator, and then of course the charitable work, and then over the last few years, you really dug in and started a business, which is really fascinating and really been fun to watch. And I really like the business that you are a co-owner of, because it does something, everybody, you love cruising, and then you get home and you miss cruising, and you've got your souvenirs from your cruise, you got your magnets or your spoons or whatever you collect, but now you're a part of a company that really takes, being nostalgic about your cruise to the next level with the cruise maps, right? Like you can see the actual route that your cruise made and have it printed up in a very nice, commemorative thing that you can put on your wall. And then that's kind of evolved to almost like a competitor with Shipmate, right? Shipmate is the thing that I traditionally use to keep track of my cruising. And, I'll go ahead and say it. Like, one of the shortfalls of Shipmate is it doesn't tell me cool things like how many days I've spent at sea or how many countries I've been to. And now all of a sudden you have this website and now a brand new app, basically the Cruise Globe. So can you walk me through how all of a sudden you get into being a business owner, and then really what the vision of the cruise maps and the Cruise Globes are, and where you're at with that company right now?
Yeah, so for me, what I'm doing is I'm basically creating what I've always wanted in the cruise industry. And finally, I have people who know how to do that, which is so, so nice. So I'm the same. I've always had, Google Docs with my lists of cruises. I can't tell people where I've been. I'm not very good at geography. I don't really remember. So we originally had the company, the Cruise Maps, which is the physical print. So if you go on a cruise, you can get a printout of where you've been. You can see little loops, or if you missed ports, anything like that. And we just thought, we have this data. We would like everyone to be able to see their cruises in a free way. We have launched this app called the Cruise Globe. It's totally free, and you can put all your cruises onto a globe and you can see where it actually went. So I like to zoom in, in 3D, see where we went in the fjords, talking about Alaska. That's a really, really nice one. And you can put all your past cruises in there. You can look at live cruises. You can see, like you said, how many nautical miles you've done, how many times you've been to each country. Really sort of ship nerdy stuff, but I love that. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're going to be going, forward. At the minute, it's live ship data and historical data, but we're going to be going forward. Obviously, the whole thing about the app is that it uses the real data from the cruise ship. We don't know the real data if you haven't been yet, obviously. But what we're going to be doing is assuming, we've got hundreds of thousands of cruises logged now, but we can sort of assume and predict a route for you, which is very different from when you book a cruise and you get that sort of artistic curve like this. Cruises don't do that. And it's so funny to see what a cruise line would never tell you, that it's actually going in the opposite direction because it's got a sea day and it doesn't need it.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. I love seeing where it's just gone out into international waters just so they can open the casino and then come back in again.
Well, the other interesting thing I noticed when I was looking at my cruises is you can also see things like medical emergency or ship rescues or stuff like that. You can actually see the route that the cruise ship took to get back to a particular place. It's really fascinating. And the thing that I like about it is both the app and the website, they're free to use, right? So you can just create an account, put in all of your cruises, and you don't have to buy anything. Now, the nice thing, and of course the supportive thing for the company is if you do buy something, but I do love the fact that you're putting it out there so that people have a really good way to track their cruises. So that's it's been fun. I think I'm slowly getting all of my cruises in. So when you're saying cruises in the future, are you going to have like a list of future itineraries? And then will it be updated for the route that the cruise actually took? Like there'll be a marrying up of the real data?
Yeah, so I think we'll have to do, a dotted line. This is what we're predicting that you'll do. And then when you come back, we'll update it to the real route. I like what you're saying about, it is completely free. Obviously, our hope is, this is not a secret. Our hope is if someone sees 20 of their cruises on the free website, they might want to, give their mum a print of one or something. Yeah. So just being upfront about how that works, that's how we keep it free. But yeah, we sort of already had the data from the physical company, and we just wanted, I feel like everyone in the tech world maybe thinks cruising is not that glamorous or cool, and they've left us behind. So we're just making an effort to bring us, up to date with all of there's so many other cool things for planes or anything else, but cruising there has not been anything. So that was our thinking.
The wild thing is I'm not that great with wall art, so I do like the other offering that you have with the cruise cards. And, it's just the same size as a ship card, but it's essentially like a tiny map, instead of printing it out to something big to put up on your wall. It's the size of like a ship card. And then you also have that great binder where you can kind of marry up your ship card and the map, or you could just have the maps, which I think that's pretty cool. Look, I'm going to leave a link to the Cruise Globe and all that stuff in the description if anybody wants to check that out. Let's talk about a few cruising topics. I'm doing a new podcast with Tommy Casabona from the Always Be Booked Cruise Podcast.
Oh, I love Tommy.
And we're doing a show called Cruise Talk Weekly, and the idea is that we would talk about cruising weekly, but so far so good. We've done it 3 weeks in a row. But yesterday our topic was we're talking about how people pack for a cruise, and we broke it down into some buckets. We broke it down into always packed, because I've met people that say they're always packed. Then I met people that say they pack but like 30 days out and longer, 1 week out and longer, and then some people pack on the day of the cruise. What kind of cruise packer are you? Should I ask?
What one would you think? What would you guess?
I don't think you're packing a week out. I think you're probably like the rest of us, where you know exactly what you throw together. Like for me, I always have my tech bag ready, like what I'm going to film with and stuff like that, because I just carry that with me, because I could make stuff wherever, right? If I'm here at the studio or on the road or whatever. So that's the hardest part for me. That was always the hardest part, and so that's the problem I had to solve.
Yeah.
But when it comes to clothes and stuff like that, I pack. If I'm cruising out of Tampa, which is 45 minutes away from here, I'll pack when I wake up the morning to go on that cruise.
I think that sounds fair. I don't know. Does everyone else have a lot more clothes than me? Because I couldn't pack a month in advance because I need to wear those clothes. I don't know what. Yeah. Maybe everyone has more stuff, but yeah, I have certain cruise things. I have my adapters, daylight alarm clock for inside cabins. That stuff all stays together because I'm not going to need that outside of a cruise. So that's easy. But yeah, as far as clothes go, I think a lot of people will make the mistake and they'll think, oh, I haven't worn this dress in 6 months. Maybe this is the time. They pack it and then they realize, oh, I remember why I don't wear this because it doesn't fit or it's itchy or something. So I normally say to people, you're going to want your most comfortable pair of jeans. You're going to want your shoes that you've walked a million miles in and they're comfortable because you're going to be walking a lot up and down the stairs. So apart from some, dresses for the evenings that I wouldn't normally wear at home, it's mostly just normal t-shirts and shorts and trousers and shoes and socks.
So it's a quick pack for you. Yeah. Now, as somebody who's made content for so long, and I know you've done like the, what to pack, what not to pack, here's cruise advice, try this, don't try this. Is there any cruise advice that you used to swear by that you don't think's as important anymore? And is there a favorite cruise tip that you have right now that you tell people readily?
I think I don't always take my own advice anymore. When I know something is right, I'm someone who gets seasick sometimes, which seems insane, but it is true. And, the advice is, I will say to people, if you get seasick, get a cabin in the middle and load down. And I know that's right. Do I do it? No, for a few reasons. One, it's a more interesting story if I can book a guaranteed cabin, because where is the interest in I booked something, I got exactly what I wanted and it was exactly what I thought? Like, that's not interesting. And sometimes I will, I bought a water package on my last cruise on Norwegian. That is not something I would have ever considered a year ago. But once I had it, I've done enough cruises now that I've sort of tested everything and I know some things are just nice to have, don't need them.
I was going to say, nice. Didn't you used to be pretty hardcore? Like, I'm just going to drink out of the faucet.
Yeah, I mean, I still will, but It's nice, to come back to your room and have the cans of water that they do on Norwegian. I had that once, and then since then, I genuinely miss it. But I still bring, I bring the little diluted juice, the squash that I have, and I'm more than happy to drink, out of the tap. But I just catch myself sometimes doing things like that, and I'm like, Emma, past me would be shocked by this. But yeah, as far as tips go, I mean, I think the biggest problem I see with people is that they want to plan every single second of their cruise and they spend it, they spend it running around from thing to thing and they don't actually relax, which is kind of the whole point. So I try and say to people, this, you want to do a certain specialty restaurant, you want to see a show, great. But the best things happen when you're not trying to do something. When you just sat on the promenade deck and you accidentally see a whale or you see someone doing something really funny in the, whatever venue. Sometimes they're the best things.
No, I completely agree with that. I didn't realize that I was pulling in Emma Le Teace, but so I booked a super rare cruise. I booked a cruise on the Carnival Celebration in November, and what makes it super rare is our friend Don Terrace. Ever since I've known him, and like when we cruised together to Japan back in 2019, I think that was his 101st cruise, and now he's up to 180 or some astronomical number. But what I know about Don is I have never seen him on a Carnival cruise. And so he is going with his travel agency friends on the Carnival Celebration in November. So I had to book it. So I went and looked. I had casino offers, and I could have booked a balcony for $1,500, and it would have included drinks in the casino. And I almost did it because I love a balcony cabin. But then I was talking to Jenny, my wife, and I said, "Hey, is there anything cheaper?" And she goes, "Well, I mean, you could go interior guarantee, and you can get it for your gratuities and everything all in for $700, but you're not going to know where they put you and you're going to be on an inside cabin." I'm like, let me do that. So I didn't realize I was pulling an Emma, but I think I was pulling an Emma at that point.
I loved it.
So yeah, in the spirit, I'm going to be doing this inside cabin and basically just stalking Don to see what his impressions of a Carnival cruise is. So that should be good. It should be interesting. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean,
let's oh wait, go ahead.
I mean, like, some people will book what they think is the perfect cabin and it turns out to be terrible because next door is the noisiest neighbors. I've had some great guaranteed cabins, some that are not so great, but, I kind of enjoy the gamble.
I can't think I've had a few guaranteed cabins and most of the time it works out fine, right? I'm just, you're probably like me, just happy to be on the cruise and make the best of it.
Clean.
All right. As we bring this in a little bit, let me ask you this, and we don't have to play favorites or anything like that, but over your last year or so, what's been a cruise ship that's really impressed you for any reason? Like what's the first cruise ship that comes to mind? And then maybe a cruise destination or cruise port experience that really sticks with you from your recent past?
Tricky. I've done some really interesting cruises this year. I went on Queen Mary 2 for the transatlantic, so I think that's a very special kind of cruise. It's not a cruise that suits me, but if I look back at my cruise history, I feel like that's a really important one. It's a really nice ship. Quite a rough transatlantic, which is in January, but I booked it in January. So I think as a ship, that's the one that I'll probably look back on and think, that's when I did that proper cruise. As far as destinations, I went to Svalbard not that long ago, which is as north as you can go, pretty much. And it's this very remote place where the sun doesn't set for 4 months. And that was so cool. I went down a coal mine on an excursion, my favorite excursion I've ever done, in these muddy overalls. Emma, do you want to crawl through this hole? Yes, I do. So cool. So that's probably my favorite destination. I do like Norway. I do like a lot of, we did Iceland as well, which was really cool. But going to Svalbard, it's normally only the sort of expedition lines that go there, the really expensive cruises. But I did it with Norwegian. Just happened to be stopping there, so I booked that cruise. And the coal mine was so cool. Went to a little cafe with huskies in it, and it's just such a strange place where the sun doesn't rise for 4 months and doesn't set for 4 months. Can you imagine?
That's wild. That's wild. I believe there's a fairly popular content creator. There's Celia or something like that. Yeah, we follow her. So she's in our feed a lot and really interesting stuff. And then what you may not know about me is so over here in North America, there's these things called the Appalachian Mountains. And so a lot of folks came to Europe. I did do my DNA recently, and I'm even more British than I thought. I'm like 70 or 80%. But everybody migrated over to the East Coast, and most of my people are coal miners. So one of my favorite memories when I was a kid was my grandfather took me and one of my cousins, put us in the whole overall, the hard hat, the whole thing, put us on a front loader and took us into a coal mine. And we spent part of the day at coal mine. So I agree with you. It's one of those unique, and it's such a part of my family history. Like we have generational coal miners, and it's the wild thing. And if I can just combine those two things, I remember when I went to Cornwall and I had a pasty for the first time, like a Cornwall pasty, and they were talking about how this is the best food for miners because you can eat it with dirty hands, right? You can get the meat and all that, but you still have this handle to hold on to. And I've been to Australia, and they have the same thing where people had migrated there and brought this food, and we have something similar here. So it's really neat. It really just kind of opens your mind to travel, to realize that people have gone all over the globe taking their cultures and their traditions, and we all have this connectedness that sometimes people lean into the differences, which is a sad part of the world today, but there's really this interesting connectedness that really should bring us all together. On that note, look, thank you for taking the time. I continue to be impressed with everything that you're doing, and of course, it's always fun when I think we've only cruised together that one time on the Aqua, but it was a blast being with you and the friends and all that. So hopefully we'll get to do that again soon, and continued success to you in all your endeavors.
Yeah, there's been so many years. I don't even know how many years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So, all right. Thank you, Emma. It was good to talk to you.
All right. Bye.